All right, so just a little documenting, mainly so I don't forget here. So I've done this thing in every sales position that I've ever been in. And I think it's something that can be repeatable. I think it's a concept and a framework that will get people going faster and farther than me. It's one that will save agents a lot of money in hiring people and in getting them trained. And it's one that I'm going to start basing around TMP. And so my very first summer, I remember deciding to go do summer sales, go do door-to-door sales. And it was a big risk for me leaving because I had, people close to me say that I wasn't going to be making any money, like a salary. Nothing's guaranteed. Also, I had just came home from an LDS mission. I had done service work for 2 years for my church where I learned Spanish, and it was awesome. But, I take 2 years right out of high school and go do that. I have some ground to make up. It was kind of my mindset. I get home in the fall and I start working. I worked at Planet Fitness at like a call center. And at one point I had 2 jobs. I had committed to 2 jobs. I was going to work at Planet Fitness and wash cars at night and take on a full class load. I remember doing that. It was interesting. That only lasted a day, but I was making $10, $12 an hour. The job that I had right before I left for the summer was the customer service job, and I was making, I think, $11 an hour. And my shifts were, I'd start at 2 p.m. because I was in school, I was in classes before that, start at 2 p.m. and then I wouldn't be done until I think it was like 8 p.m. Yeah, it was only 6-hour shifts. So just awful shifts. I get done at 8, I would go home and I would study. Right. And so that was kind of my life, and I was making $11 an hour. So that was kind of my life at the time. I had a friend approach me, and he's, all of my friends that didn't do 2-year missions had done this thing called summer sales, where, as soon as I got home, I was hit up by all of my friends and they wanted to go to lunch, right? Which essentially meant they wanted to try to recruit you to come and do sales with them. It was an interesting environment, but one that I'm super grateful for because what's happened for me. But, kind of in this mindset of like money, this, money, that, like I don't have money really. And I'm working these jobs, like I'm stretched super thin, right? I'm going to school. I'm trying to actually make good money, but I remember my paychecks coming in, $11 an hour. You're working 6 hours, 30 hours a week. Like you're not making good money. And so it was not very motivating. And I knew that, this sucks. I don't want to do this. And I kind of felt trapped. And so, right at this time, I had a friend approach me, and, it was, I think, just the right opportunity with the right timing. I felt good about the decision. I went to dinner with my friend and then his sales manager, and I think another sales manager. And so I liked how they were speaking my language at the time. I wanted something that was more of an opportunity because where I felt like I was trapped in. And so, they pitched me and I ended up deciding to do this thing. In preparation to leave for the summer, we had to go get licensed to sell alarm systems in Oklahoma. So we flew out there as a group and we got our licenses, right? And so at this point, I've got my license. I've been doing trainings. I would go to their nightly trainings in hopes to be prepared. And yeah, it was time to go out for the summer. And so hop on a plane. I didn't take my vehicle, and it was my first experience to anything like this. But I remember getting out there, and it's all new to me. There's no one super close to me out there, but that was okay. I was used to that because of what I did serving the LDS mission for 2 years. I'm with people I don't know all the time. And so that wasn't a big deal. I think I was just used to that. I wasn't with anybody. I remember one of the first meetings, we all got together there one night when everybody had arrived and we had our first training meeting. And I was nervous, I was excited, I had every sort of emotion because we're gonna go to sleep and the next day was the first day on the doors. And so I remember, all of those emotions, a lot going on, but also I had left I was committing to leave for 4 months on a commission only job, and then knowing that in the fall I got to get back in school and I've got to I've got to make money, right? And so there was a lot weighing, a lot pulling me back, but a lot on the line as well. It was a risk that I felt like put me in an uncomfortable position that really almost forced me to just take massive action, right? And so I'm there. I remember, waking up the next morning. We had our training meeting, which I think was like at 9 o'clock. And so I remember going to the gym with all the guys, and we get to this training meeting, and I'm already dressed, I'm ready to go. I've got my iPad, I've got my slicks, and we do a little bit of a training. I remember a rookie that came out with me. He was actually my roommate. He did a role play in front of everybody, and everybody hyped him up, and I was ready to go and make this happen. I was excited. And so, we did our meeting and had lunch, and then 2 o'clock we were on the doors. And so they give us, an area, and where I didn't have my car, I went with someone that had a car, and they just dropped me off in my area. Okay. And really, you drop them off at 2, and maybe you go get a snack for dinner, but you're not really picked up until about 9 o'clock. And so, 7 hours out there in the heat of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and me, I don't even know what the heck I'm doing, right? This basic training, but I just started knocking on doors, and I heard a lot of no's, and I just it didn't feel natural for me. But the more I did it, the more comfortable I became, the more confident I became in my approach, which I think is a big deal. And more importantly, the more I did that, now when I went back to do training, I had context, right? I had this experience that I didn't have before. And so when I did the trainings, when I did door approaches over, in trainings, I had something to hang my hat on, right? I had context. I had this experience. So when the training, hit and, we do our role plays, I would be able to recognize things and say, oh my gosh, like maybe that's my problem. And I would go out on the doors and I would try it. And, I went my first week, I think it was my first 3 days, I didn't sell a single thing. But that weekend, I ended up selling like a total of 5 accounts. So it was a big deal. To give you an idea, I made more money in that weekend than I would make at probably more than 2 or 3 months back home at my previous jobs in the call center. And so it was a really, really cool experience, but that was my first experience with, this concept of just getting yourself ready, right? Whatever you need to do mentally, get the confidence, build the confidence to a point where you can just go out and have a life insurance conversation. You do not need to know everything. You're never going to know everything. Get to a place where you can just get into massive action. Okay? That is the first thing. And so if you're not in action, or if something feels weird about that, what is it? Define it and get over it, right? You need to start taking massive action. And I promise you, it's not as bad as you're making it out to be in your head. It's truly not. It's actually very fulfilling, very rewarding when you just go and act when you don't know every step of the sales process. You don't know what the customer is going to say. You don't know if they're going to slam the door in your face. There are so many unknowns with it, which is why I feel like it becomes very fulfilling when you go out and you try new things. If something's not working, you change it. And you do that enough to a point where you start seeing results. You start seeing policies fall. And then this momentum builds, but you still continue to sharpen the axe. You could still show up every single day with that hunger, with that drive, whatever it is for you guys, right? For me, when I left for that summer, the drive was the risk that I was taking, right? I wanted to prove people wrong. I wanted to prove the people wrong that told me I couldn't go out and do it, that I wasn't guaranteed a salary. I wanted to prove people wrong. And I'm leaving where I lived for 4 months to go and make it happen. That was another big risk. And so I had a why. I had a reason that kept me into massive action, regardless of how I felt. Because I can tell you, if I let my feelings dictate what I did out there, I would have been a failure, and I probably would have left that day that I was considering coming home after 3 days of not selling anything my first week. I would have left and my whole life would have changed, right? And so we hear this talked about, and I don't even know the right way to say this, but we hear ready, aim, fire, right? And I think, it makes the most logical sense. I want to get ready. I want to get myself ready to go out and have good life insurance conversations. And then I want to do a lot of training until I feel comfortable, until I feel confident. And then I'm going to go have conversations. Guys, that is so wrong. There's just something about that is going to hinder your progress. Stop looking at it that way. Stop looking at life that way. Stop, expecting that with this training that you learn and the more knowledge that you get, that's going to make you a completely different person. And then you're going to find all this success in selling all these policies. You've got to stop looking at it like that. Instead, you've got to get yourself ready, right? You've got to then go and fire, go and have conversations, right? Go and, commit to trying different things with different people and just commit to doing that over and over and over again. And be okay with people telling you no, right? Go for the no. Celebrate with yourself if they don't tell you yes. Because why? Because you went out and you did what you could control, right? And so after you fire, and commit to that action and get experience, then go and aim. Then go and do training. Because guess what's going to happen? You're going to have context for your training. And so when you go and do training, you're going to be able to recognize, oh my gosh, what so-and-so said in Texas, instead of calling it life insurance, why don't I call it life benefit, right? Things like that will change your life. They're going to change your production first, right? But it's going to change your life. And so if you can start looking at life with that lens of ready, fire, aim, instead of ready, aim, fire, and if you can approach what you do in the seat as a team member, in the seat as, a mom or a dad, in the seat as a, son, I think your whole life will change. And it's something that becomes very fulfilling. As humans, we want progress. We crave that. This is what will give you that progress. This simple framework that has worked for me multiple times in different industries to find massive results and build a confidence, build a skill set that I never thought was possible. Ready, fire, aim.